So as we store the material for companies at our facility, then we also load them up on 18-wheelers and a rail car. So Waco is the largest private rail car system in the country.
Okay. Now, do you own that or?
I wish. No.
I know, right? That'd be some money, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, thanks for tuning in, man. Let me go through this weather, man, for people wanting to know what it's gonna be. Let's see. Well, we already know today. Let's see. What was high today? Didn't find a high, but tonight's supposed to be 40 degrees. 43% chance of rain, northwest, 24 miles per hour. Showers with winds diminishing overnight. Wow, winds can get up to 30 miles per hour. 40% chance of rain. Humidity 62%. UV index 0 to 10. Moonrise waning gibbous. I have no idea what that means, but I'm gonna look it up. Moonset 8:24 a.m. Tomorrow high 62, low 44, mostly sunny. Ooh, the sun is dancing outside the clouds. Still hiding behind a little bit of clouds, but it's coming out. 2% chance of rain northwest, 16 miles per hour winds. Humidity 39% and UV index 7 to 10. Sunrise 46 a.m., sunset 7:50 p.m. Now, during the day, the Saturday evening, cloudy, low 44 Fahrenheit, winds southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Humidity 50%, UV index 0 to 10, moonrise 12:28 a.m., moonset 9:24 a.m. Waning gibbous. I still want to know what that is. Sunday, last day. Oh man, we got some heat. High 75 degrees, 8% chance of rain. Intervals of clouds and sunshine. Highs around 75, winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Humidity 45%. UV index 6 of 10. Sunrise 5:44 a.m. Sunset 7:51 p.m. Sunday night. A few showers early with overcast skies late. Low 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Chance of rain 30%. Humidity 71. UV index 0 to 10. Moonrise 1:27 a.m. Moonset 10:29 a.m. Waning gibbous. Now, hey, you ever heard that term before, Dennis? Waning gibbous.
No, I'm gonna look it up.
That's really interesting. Waning gibbous. The waning gibbous is an intermediary moon phase. It starts right after the full moon and it lasts until the third quarter. When the moon is in the waning gibbous phase, the sunlit part of the moon is decreasing from 99.9% to 50.51%. That's pretty interesting.
But how does that affect the wind?
What'd you say? Can you say it again?
How does that affect the wind?
That's a good question, bro. I really wish I knew that answer. You know, and since I started doing this show, reading the weather, I thought it'd be a good point, you know, because people from different areas, you know, see how things are going on in their area. And it's really getting me interested in a lot of things. Hold on. Because I do know the moon can affect the weather.
Sure, you got barometric pressure and all those other things. Tide.
Oh man, it's gonna take a lot of reading to understand this. So I don't see anything that, specifically. Well, let me see this. Okay, I'm looking at this from sciencing.com. The moon affects the weather in several indirect ways. The moon has a large effect on ocean tides, and tides have a significant effect on the weather in the sense that a world without a moon would experience little or no tides and would have a different system of weather. The moon has a small effect on polar temperatures. So its tidal effect, since the moon's gravitational force depends on distance at any given time, the portion of the moon closest to the portion of the earth closest to the moon, i.e. directly underneath it, is most strongly influenced by gravity. This means that when the moon is over an ocean, the water is pulled toward it, creating what is called the tidal bulge. As the moon orbits the earth and the bulge acts like a wave sweeping around the earth, this effect causes the tides. Now, I'm wondering, this is what I'm wondering, reading that, right? So when the moon is over that ocean, right, and it moves, does the tide follow the moon because it creates gravity? It creates a strong pull of gravity, a gravitational pull.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So that's where you create the low tide and high tide.
And then there's the ocean tides, the atmospheric tides, tidal effect on land, polar temperature. All right, man. Thanks a lot for thanks a lot for opening my mind to that. Man, we're gonna wait for a couple more people come in. You know who we got on tonight? Who we're interviewing tonight?
I forget the name, but it's a comedian who's I guess he's been doing pretty well. I saw that he's been on Conan O'Brien and a few other episodes or TV shows.
Well, he has a history of managing comedians. He's done a lot of managing, booking comedians and things like that, right? And so it's people like this brother right here who I'm willing to bet is extremely funny, right? But who knows more about comedy than any comic out there because he helps manages them. He knows the scene. He knows who the players are, right? So it's going to be real interesting listening to him. I'm going to read a quick bio. Xavier Greer is a veteran in the New York comedy scene who has worked with some of the world's biggest comedic talents for over 20 years. Xavier managed multiple clubs in New York City, including the Boston Comedy Club and Stand Up New York. He was the talent coordinator of HBO's Bad Boys of Comedy Season 2 and worked on the production side at Comedy Central, the Conan O'Brien Show, and more. Xavier prides himself on mentoring new and emerging comics, as well as advising seasoned veterans. Yo, now that's amazing, bro.
I've watched a lot of documentaries on like the Comedy Store in California, Pauly Shore's mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing industry, like how people have to pay their dues, just pure luck, bad luck. Amazing industry.
Oh yeah, man. It's. Hey, Dennis, are you do you mind being on cam?
Can you see me? I'm on my cell phone right now.
Nah. But just let you know, we're streaming. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be we're on radio right now. So waiting for some other people to come in. But yeah, man, and the other thing about comics, man, is the I mean, some of the smartest people in the world, man, are comedians, bro. And you hear some of the things that they come up with, like taking some of the craziest situations, right, and making people laugh at those situations. It's just
Sure, and there's so many different levels to it compared to many other jobs where you just got to learn a craft and it's specific. Where comedy is 100 different types of variety of comedy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's always changing, man. Um, the more conscious society gets, the more comedy changes. The more aware, you know, from my understanding anyway. And comedy has also been utilized, man, to create some of the greatest change in our societies. Where the way people make fun of things, bring attention to things.
Sure. Also, how the customer reacts to the comedy.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a comic who Andrew Dice Clay. Remember Andrew Dice Clay?
Sure. I went and saw the Knickerbocker Arena back in like 1990 in its heyday.
Yeah, and the more conscious society became with women issues and stuff like that, man, the harder it became for him to play. Do you realize that?
Sure. I saw him at the Knickerbocker, which was probably 20,000 something people, and
It's
then
incredible.
playing small clubs in Vegas.
Yeah, it's great. I can't wait till Marcia Masavia comes on, because definitely some questions like that, like how do you get big productions like that, like how does one book those, so it's going to be some real good questions, definitely some things to answer, and ask. um
Because I think like back in the 90s, the whole goal was almost every major comedian was getting a television show. That's changed a lot also.
yeah. um well, Kevin Hart. Well, you also gotta think too that, like, now there's the you have um the online aspect, right, as well as television. So that changed things a lot too now,
Oh,
So
it's been so that part is huge because the stand up might take a year or so just doing small clubs on its craft to go out and do the big tour. But now with like YouTube, cell phones, people taping their material, they don't have that luxury anymore because it goes online quick.
oh yeah. And you gotta.
Hey, you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right.
It was good, man.
How you doing, man? This is the first time I've used this.
Oh man. You know why I use WebEx
It's
is
yeah, tell me, because it's actually pretty cool.
it's so much more secure than net what's that?
Zoom.
Zoom. And it was built with security in mind. And
Okay.
there's this part of me that's like, um so you have all these schools that have had all these problems with Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the government continues to contract with Zoom, even though um, it what's the word? So when you sign a contract with the government, right, and you
Oh
do
yeah, that you're in it, right? That's
right,
that's
you're
yeah,
supposed to you're supposed to make sure that all these security protocols are in place,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Zoom knew that none of those security protocols were in place, right? Even though, right, the government found out Zoom knew that these protocols weren't in place, they continued to do business with Zoom rather than punishing them and holding them accountable, and then taking that money and then supporting other companies. That to me, I just find that ridiculous, because it's something that continues to happen. Where there are businesses who are doing their
What's the big? Yeah, it's the big dog. It's like all of the major mom and pop businesses here in New York closed because of all the big Rite Aids and the Dwayne Reeds.
yeah.
and Targets. So all the small grocery stores no longer have any relevance. They all have to shut down.
Yeah.
Because
And
everybody, you know, go get your clothes, you can go get your food, you can, you know. So it's a killer. It's a destroyer of small businesses. People who are trying to start something.
yeah,
You have to compete with such an animal.
word. I
Yeah,
want to
man.
first. I want to first. I was gonna start playing some music, but I switched around my studio tonight because I wanted to get the flag up, and you know, uh, I actually like the background. I finally got a background I actually like. It's moved into this new place, and I like the rustic brick look.
Oh man, I had no choice. The office is being occupied, so
Oh yeah,
uh, yeah. So this is the living room,
it
and
works, bro. It works, man.
yeah, man. Hey, I like the red, black, and green back there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I grew up on with mom.
Word.
Yeah, man. I actually looked into your company. I really like what you're doing. It's really a positive and um, just I mean it's a great look at what you're trying to get people to. I guess the poetic recovery. You mean in general of the question I'm asking is it addicts as well as recovery of the community and all and as a whole?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why it's poetic recovery.
Mhm.
So it's funny because like people like there's no poetry in music, like but there is, right? That cadence, that frequency, that energy that like beckons the soul to wake up and be aware of like what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I've been a lyricist for a long time. My first show was when I was 16, maybe a little bit younger than that. By the time I got old enough to really start rhyming, I mean, the lyrics that was put out was just really like, I don't want to encourage people to kill each other. Don't want to
Mhm.
disrespect women like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have my issues with women, but like, I'm not, that's not how I want to come at it. You know what I'm saying? And so, early on in recovery, there was no places for me to go and perform where there wasn't alcohol and drugs.
Mhm.
So I created Poetic Recovery, but also doing activism. I wanted to create a place where artists can learn about social political issues and stuff like that,
Mhm.
especially hip hop artists, and really building our communities.
Mhm.
Well, I started building a network called Community Against Hate, right? I had no money to legalize anything, so I was like, I'll just start doing networks and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I started doing Poetic Recovery because I'm like, okay, if there's a spot where artists can perform and be seen, they'll show up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Um, the hard thing would be like, so if there's no alcohol and drugs, it's going to be harder to get artists, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, got to do what we got to do, man.
Well, let me ask you too, what state are you in? Because I really don't know.
I'm in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay, Massachusetts. Okay. Well, you're
Ooh,
not far away from me then. I mean, I'm in New York, but yeah, I mean, you know,
what?
Mass is 4 hours away, I guess, 5 hours away.
Well, what part of New York are you in?
I'm in Manhattan.
Oh, I
I'm
hit
right.
that like 2.5 hours, bro.
Yeah,
Two and a half hours.
yeah,
Man, I'm gonna tell you this, man. I am grateful to have you on the show, bro. For a couple of different reasons, man. I've seen some of your work. I read some of your background. I'm like, wow. Like, you talking about Bad Boys of Comedy. You're like, yo, I wonder, like how does this happen, right? And then I met Maya,
yeah.
and
My love Maya.
bro,
Yeah,
she is such an incredible and strong person, woman. Is just amazing, like how incredibly strong she is, man. And you talking about rising up, man. Last year she rose up to
yeah.
the challenge, like man,
Well,
addressing.
she's been in this game for years. I'm just the guy that sort of watched a lot of comedians develop. Um, and it's been amazing to see, 25 years of just comics who start from scratch you know, and to see where they get to, you know.
Now you say
Yeah.
you watch them develop. Let me ask you, do you watch them develop or do you help them develop?
I would say both. You know, it's not like you know, I work with certain managers and different people, but now I'm more into development at this stage. But I've worked with different managers and people to understand how to manage. But in this at the same time, I was there to help sort of put together people's acts or help them write something or just give them a I guess a honest opinion about what's funny and what's not. But I try to keep myself to saying I help the guy's career. Yeah, I'll let them say that, but I'm not one to tout about stuff that
All right, so let me ask you this, because since you're not one of the guys that talked about it, um, who has given you credit for the support that you've given them?
I mean, guys give you credit. It's not like you have to say it outright. I mean, it's being able to meet with guys and have this conversation that we're having, right? It's like, hey, that's credit to. So some of the guys that come on to Comedy Anatomy is some of the guys I've had relationships with in the past, and we just talk about the business and the real side of it. And by them coming on and talking to me and us having this open forum, it's a way of showing me, hey man, this is the respect and love I have for you. You know what I mean? Um,
You
I've
know what?
met, yeah. Do you get what I mean, right? And
It's
that's it.
interesting because, and I'll be honest with you, I just understood what that means. When
Mhm.
people say there's some things that's not spoken, it's just understood. And it's
Yeah,
understood by when you need something and whether or not that person shows up. You know
right.
what I'm saying? So now that you mentioned, I just want to go through and name some of the episodes of Comedy Anatomy. When we come back, let's talk about Comedy Anatomy. But I want to give people a sense of some of the people that come on
Sure.
to your podcast.
Yeah, so you have guys. We started our first episode with Eddie Brill. Eddie Brill is sort of a staple in the comedy business. He booked Letterman for 17 years. He's a writer, he's a producer, he's been in the game, and he's just respected by all the comedians in the business. You may not know him, he's not like famous, but in the comedy business, I guarantee you every comic knows Eddie Brill.
It sounds like he's one of those people that, like, if you want to be famous or if you're going to be famous, he's one of the people that you have to connect with because of his connections.
At the time when he was doing Letterman, he was behind the scenes, guys, but
Yeah,
he was the guy you have to go to.
yeah.
But he's not a guy that's going to be like, "Hey, I'm the guy you got to go to."
Right.
So most of the people we interview, like Russ Maneve, Rachel, every comic we interview, they're in the business, but they're very humble and they love what they do. So that was one of the things that the people we pick. They just have a respect for the business, but they're not affected by it. They're not affected by the popularity or fame or whatever it is that comes with some of the show business. The attitudes you get. I'm famous. Look at me. I'm my asshole. But I've never gotten that from any of the guys that we've interviewed. And they have very interesting stories, very humble backgrounds, and that's a reason why a lot of them do comedy in the first place, because they have these interesting backgrounds.
There are two names on this list that stand out to me. One of them is Rachel Feinstein,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and the other is well, I see there's Harris Stanton, but the other one is Wally Collins.
yeah. Wally Collins, love Wally Collins.
Would you guys?
Rachel, Wally is, and I love Rachel. I mean, Harris, I love Harris is one of my favorite people, a funny guy. but a lot of people don't know of him. But the stuff that he has done, and he's toured with Tracy Morgan forever. Um, he's not he's not going to tout that, but he's got a quite a extensive, resume. Rachel Feinstein is amazing.
Yeah.
Wally Collins is, God, I love Wally Collins. He's been in the business forever. I mean, he's just a talented guy, right? But and our show is not meant to be slapping, funny, knee slapping. Hey, you got to tell me a joke. We really just try to really have a real conversation with the comedians,
About like what
the
what it
industry.
is, yeah, what it is to be in the
Yeah,
industry, what it
yeah,
is. Because
yeah.
I mean, some people have experienced some real trauma in the business,
Yes, yes.
and do you guys get into that?
It's up to them if they want to talk about it. Some of them actually mention their past and share it with the audience and their audiences. We try to, but I mean, it's up to it's up. You may have a background. If when you're ready,
Right.
you'll open up about it, right? But a lot of times we try to ask these questions, but we leave it up to them.
I mean, so answer me this, right? Well, let's back up. Let's back up.
Mhm.
I want people to get to know who Masavia. Am I pronouncing your name right, Masavia?
Oh, it's Masavia.
Masavia.
Masavia, yeah.
Now, where does that come from? Like, what ethnic
So
background?
my mom is she took it from an African, West African proverb. The Maasai tribe. You got the Maasai tribe.
Yes.
So parts of our family are from Africa. Now, I don't know the details as much as she does, but she took my name, um, and she put it was meant to be my savior, but she added
Masavia.
the A, Masavia, but it's from Africa. It's an African name, but she sort of created it to have the meaning that she wanted.
Oh,
It, very complex when I was little. I didn't want that name, believe me, bro. It was like, I would have rather been called Mike or, you know,
why is that?
dude. I mean, I would be teased. Guys would tease me, man. Growing up in DC, guys would tease the shit out of me, man. Like, can I say shit on it? But yeah, guys would tease me and make fun of me. So I would make up another name, man. I would call myself Reggie. I would call myself Mike. Call me Johnny, whatever. Because I hated my name, man, growing up. I appreciate it now, but I hated that name, man. I tell you, you know. Yeah.
Wow, man, I'm gonna go on a search for what your name means.
Well,
Um,
you know what? My mother, she created her own meaning for it, man. It means savior of self.
wow.
Savior of self. If you save yourself first, you can save others. That's what her whole meaning was.
Now let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So that's a really interesting beginning to your life, right?
Mhm.
Um, how did you get into comedy? Well, how has comedy impacted your life as an individual? I know, I think you're a little bit older than me, so you lived through the
Yeah.
80s,
Hmm.
probably came through the end of the 60s and 70s,
Well,
right?
I'm born in the 70s.
Okay,
So I'm in my 40s,
right.
you know, mid 40s.
Okay.
Um, so I started comedy originally with Dave Chappelle. We started comedy together. He would tell you that. Um, we He also convinced me to go to a school called Duke Ellington in DC, which is the performing arts school.
What,
Um,
what's the name of the school?
Duke Ellington.
Oh, the Duke Ellington School.
Yeah, School of the Performing Arts.
Now I know Dave when Dave has like done some comedian work. He's mentioned the
Yeah.
school or stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met him somewhere else, and I was 15, he was 14, and we had discussed doing comedy, and he was destined for comedy. That's all he wanted to do at that time, and I wanted to do comedy too, but it wasn't something that was a passion as much as it was for him. But we wrote bits together, and then we went on stage. That's where it started. Um, and from there, um, throughout the years, we were doing comedy, but it wasn't something that I was passionate about. I was able to write um, and do other things. So Dave continued on. I mean, he just he just kept going.
Spiraled out
So
of control, huh?
yeah, that was his thing. I mean, I decided I was going to try to go to college, and then he moved to New York. He didn't even think about college. He was like, okay, I'm just going to New York. And he moved to New York, and I think by his first or second year, he was successful at landing a deal, at 18 or 19 years old, something like that. So he was he was here in New York, and he convinced me, man, hey man, come on up, and so when I
So,
moved up,
so real quick. So while he was in New York, where were you at?
I was in DC. So I was in college.
Okay.
I was trying to do what I should have been doing, the typical let's make a career. And even though I had a passion for New York, but
What 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 was you trying to make? What was you majoring in college?
I studied technical theater, directing, but I also minored in, I had a music background, studied jazz. God, it was pretty much a lot of things, philosophy. I mean,
So you was destined for performing anyway.
um, yeah, I was, I think, and then I have a political father, background. My mother was political. My father was a civil rights activist. So and his name is James Bevel. I don't know if you know him, but he didn't play a big part in my life, but I think I come from that family of, whatever. And of just sort of performance kind of, but that's not necessarily a career choice when you're in college, right? Because that could be a waste of money if, as if the arts is not as respected, you know. But I would say that's what my choice was at the time. And so while I was in DC, I would still go back and forth to New York. And finally, Dave was like, hey, man, you should move. And I moved, made a move by my third year college. I did not finish. I was going to finish in New York at the new school, but I just did not. I ended up working in comedy when I got here. So, and uh, and that's where it has been. You know.
Wow.
And so I guess when I moved to New York, I learned more about the background, the business side of comedy and the clubs and uh, uh, more or less than performing. I just didn't have a passion for performing as much as I thought I did, you know, at that time.
So that's interesting because before you came on, I said to Dennis, I said, um, the Savior is one of those people. I said, I bet you he's one of those people that are funnier than hell, right? But he's like behind the scenes guy. You know what I mean? To help you get to where you need to get to, point things out, so on and so forth. How much truth is to that?
Well, I'm going to tell you one of our biggest, me and Dave's biggest influences was Tony Woods. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard of Tony Woods. Tony Woods is like very influential in me and Dave, but more or less Dave. He's a funny guy just all the time, So I think for me, it's hard being on. It's hard to be on. It's hard to like somebody says, "Hey, turn it on," But if I'm hanging out, man, I'm having a blast, bro. You know. So what I try to do is my sense of humor. I would like to see in a production or some sort of way or help. helping the comics sort of define what they want to do. That I can do, but performance, it's just not in me necessarily. Now Maya tries to get me to do it, but you know,
Well, if you ever decide to, would you be willing to come to our open mic and let some out?
oh man, of course, man. I would love to, man.
There
I
you
have to
go.
make a trip up to Massachusetts, man, and do that.
Well, even before it becomes
Now, how, like, how did you get into the passion of poetry?
oh
Speaking.
man, bro. All right, so this is gonna sound kind of sad, but when I was a kid in my first foster home, right? Um, I used to like in the dark. I used to go scrummaging for like paper, and the only paper I could find was in the backs of books. Like when the books were done, they used to be like 2 or 3 pages left in the back of books, and I used to just write on those pages. And I don't know what I wrote, but I would just write. And I remember looking out the window one time, and the wind was just blowing, and the snow was going. You could thought the world was gonna end. I just wrote. I just wrote. And so that's how I got into writing, man. I think it came about. Now I'm not sure. Like I'm not a psychoanalyst, so but I try to psychoanalyze myself and the moves I made in life. When people don't listen to you, I think the other way that it comes out for me is writing.
Mm.
And it was a way of just letting things out, my ideas, like what I wanted to do, so on and so forth. I remember doing the California Achievement Test. We had to write about something, and I wrote about going to the moon and being a firefighter or whatever. Like I don't know how I put those two together, but I made it. It made a big impact, you know what I'm saying, to some of the people that read it, you know what I'm saying, and my teachers and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Enough for them to mention it to my parents, and for my foster parents to make a big deal about it. So,
So it's an outlet for you too.
oh yeah,
It gives you a sense of freedom.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But I love to perform though. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, I try to be funny, but I'm not funny, right? But it's
Well,
funny.
you may not know it's funny,
It's
right?
funny to me. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, um, but I like to make people laugh. You know what I'm saying? And the reason is because like there's so much pain in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
For as much as I like use poetry to address social issues and stuff like that, right? And I think I do it. I do it because, man, like I've seen so many people. Man, wow. There's so many people hurting, bro.
Yeah, it
You know,
is. It
and
is.
for being and I wanted to know. I wanted to know why. And the more I understood, the more I put it in poetry, so people can know, so people can figure it out and like do something about it. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that like the more I put something in the poem, the more people can hear it at one time, the more people can think about it and like figure out what to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I do poetry, man. Healing, connecting, and it's like,
Well, that's why I appreciate you, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, man. I appreciate what you're doing and your need and want to uplift people, um, and especially in your community as well. And that's hard to do. That's a give. That's giving. It's hard for a lot of us to do that. We're so busy surviving and trying to live and to support our families. We get so stressed out and we don't realize you have to step back sometimes, and maybe helping other people might sort of relieve
oh,
that stress.
absolutely,
You know.
absolutely. I learned that the crowd mentality is real.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm saying. Like I learned the hard way when there's
You
two
said the
ways.
crab. You said the crab mentality.
Crowd mentality.
Crowd.
And there's two ways I learned. One time I was about 15 years old. I was in the Boys and Girls Club and I was playing basketball. And a dude took my ball and just started shooting. I was like, yo, man, like, how you just gonna take my ball? You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't have just let it go and be like, okay, when he missed, I just get the ball and shoot. I just had to make an issue about it, right? So then he came up to me, he was like, what are you gonna do about it? And push me. Next thing I know, there was like 40 people around us, bro. Like now, I don't know why I couldn't have just like got out the crowd and just walked home and stuff like that. But I just like followed the crowd down to the park. You know what I'm saying? By the time we got to the park, there was like 100 or so people. I did not know there was that many kids in the Boys and Girls Club. At any one time you go to Boys and Girls Club, it does not look like there's like 100 people there. You know what I'm saying? Be like, yo, why is it so empty today? Right? Man, I'm gonna tell you, man, I got a beat down that night. But yeah, crowd mentality is real. The other crowd mentality that I learned about was when I started getting clean. I started going to meetings and stuff like that, right? You know, and it's interesting, like how a bunch of hopeless people can come together and find hope where there's no hope. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like there's this energy that comes together when we all come together that um we're not aware of, right?
Yeah.
But it's real. It's a real energy and it creates life. Like these little particles of life come together. It's like a Voltron, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Each one of us is a little piece of energy of a life force, right? And as we come together, it turns into like the other machine that creates things, and we're like, oh, how the hell did that happen, right? And that's from us not being educated about our individual power and the power that happens when we bring that power together. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the two important lessons of crowd mentality that I've learned, right? And so with the second one, I learned that like if I can use culture and bring people together, something better will come. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, out of this and create a better society. And so if that could be my legacy, bro, that could be my legacy. And you know, thank you.
If you can change one life, you know, that's a big deal, you know.
And I
Um,
had, and I have, man. I know that you have too, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to like I'm going for like changing 10,000 lives, bro.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 10,000.
Yeah, that's something I would definitely I think I'm getting to now, you know, looking to change lives in that way. You know, I understand it more now, you know, after all the mistakes and all of the things that in my past, I have to accept it and realize that it happened. I made mistakes, but I have to move forward, you know, and that's something I try to uh, put in the message of when you're going forward in whatever you're doing, you know, not to hold guilt towards things that may have happened, you know.
Would you say not to hold guilt?
Yes,
Oh,
that's one of the things that I think most of us do have is guilt and anxieties about our past that we need to actually in order to move forward, you have to let go of those bad feelings or learn how to let go of those bad feelings. Otherwise, they're going to hold you back,
oh, absolutely,
you know.
absolutely. And you know, it's one of the things I love about comedy, man. And laughter is like the best medicine. Oh, I swear I feel that, man.
Oh yeah, it is the best medicine. I mean, that's what me and Mike, my co-host in Common Anatomy, our thing is coming from a very healing perspective, right? It's not really trying to drag out information from comedians, but really more of a healing perspective to shed light on to other young comics or other people how connected we are, you know.
Yep.
And that's one of the bigger things about Comedy Anatomy that I do like in
Well,
doing this project, you know.
from the outside looking in and just hearing you say that, it also lets other addicts, other comics, and also let other comics know that like there's a connection over here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to,
Even comics or people just in general, you know?
And if you come over here, you're not gonna have to deal with all the BS that is over there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, we're gonna treat you humane because we're about comedy. That's what we're about. You ain't gotta worry about all the BS. You know what I'm saying? You can learn this, learn that. You know what I'm saying? We want to make this better. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's, you know, from I forgot the show that you and Maya was doing where you all had other comics come on. You guys,
My favorite people.
yes, yes, yes,
Mhm.
man. I love that, man. You guys did. Are you all still doing that or no?
Or so many episodes. We have so many episodes. Hopefully we will. I mean, I think she's put it into the Laugh Factory. But Maya's got me started into the whole just conversation piece, you know. But yeah, anything she's doing, we probably gonna have some future stuff working together on some stuff,
Let me
I'm
know so
sure.
let me know so I can continue to share because man, like those conversations, yo, we those conversations are needed because here's the thing, like people like myself, man, like traumatized kids, you know what I'm saying, who looked at comics and or looked at things and our word brain, we see it a certain way, right? But then when you hear these conversations of people break things down, you're like, oh, damn, what the hell was I thinking? You know what I'm saying? And it brings some normalcy to it, right? And allows
Sure.
us to see life in a different way. Because there's a power of TV and there's a power of radio, right? And I don't. What was that Jim Carrey movie? Where he was raised by the TV, right?
Oh, it was a cable guy.
Yeah,
The cable guy, right?
people don't realize like how true it is, man. Like people
Right.
babysitted by the TV, the concepts of television, so on and so forth, right? It doesn't really match up with life. You know
Well,
what I'm
that's
saying?
our generation today, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So
we
for me, being able to like listen to those conversations that y'all were having was amazing. Was
oh
it?
man, well, I'm glad you the things we don't think much of. I'm glad that you got something out of it. I mean, that was the purpose, but it was more for people to see, what these guys are going through doing this whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
people, when you're hit by something, I mean, a laugh and to see other faces or it's actually really it can be soothing, and that's important. That's important. That's what I love about comedy. Comedy is soothing. The person telling the jokes may be going through hell, right? But
Mhm.
when they share their experiences and they make you laugh about their hell, it's cathartic for both people. You know,
Right. Let me.
it's yeah,
You brought that up. I'm gonna say this name, and then I'm gonna open it up for Dennis
sure.
to call if they have questions for you, which is a new part that I instituted into doing this because I'm like, well, I shouldn't be the only one asking questions, and I think
That's kind of cool, man. I think
if,
it's cool.
if I
Yeah.
open it up for community to ask questions, they feel more of a part. Um, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. I thought, damn, man, that was painful, I think, to when it happened. But what he gave to comedy and sort of his talent was just unreal. He was just unbelievable. But I don't, we just don't know what people fight through. You just could never know. You just don't know, you know. So I thought that was a huge loss to comedy, to the comedy world. I'm sure to fans. I mean, I thought it was more devastating because you just didn't know he was fighting through those demons.
Um, there was a comic. Um, I'm trying to think of his name. Back in '70s, uh, he played a woman and a man. One side was a woman, one side was a man, and
Oh,
he
what?
back and forth. What's his name?
Flip Wilson? Flip
Flip
Wilson.
Yes.
Flip Wilson, yes.
Um, Flip Wilson, has he, anything about Flip Wilson?
Well, I think Flip Wilson influenced Martin, right? Because Martin's show was sort of like a Flip Wilson sort of take, because Martin could play all those different characters, you know.
You're right. You're right.
Flip Wilson definitely had a big influence on comedy in a different way. You know, he's much appreciated in comedy, business, whether you liked it or not. He did influence a culture, you know.
Well, now you have Tyler Perry doing the whole.
Oh, I think Tyler Perry is a beast, man. He's a beast. He's I mean, he's created something that I mean, damn, to reach that is incredible.
And now he's a billionaire.
He's incredible. And I mean, just from a little production that no one believed in, but he had the vision and he executed it in such a way in a short period of time, I would say.
I got two more names. I got two more names for you, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Allen.
Oh, Byron Allen's a beast, man. Yeah. Just
I
on a business side, I mean, what he's done is fucking phenomenal.
And on a community side too, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, I actually need to know more about that because I'm sure he does a lot more than I know.
He just went to court with was it Comcast? One of the big companies, right? Because of the fact that they wouldn't play his content because his content was more out there for Black people. You know what I'm saying?
And it
so
keeps it moving. Yeah, he's speedy.
Now, check it out. The company had brought up, well, we have P. Diddy. Oh, P. Diddy let him have it. P. Diddy was like, listen, I'm staying in my lane. I'm on my side. I'm letting y'all do y'all thing. But once this company brought up P. Diddy, oh, we have P. Diddy let him have it. He was like, yo, first of all, I was minding my own business, but now you brought me into, don't bring me into it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I respect Byron Allen, what he's doing. I support what he's doing. Oh, man, I was so proud of P. Diddy that day.
Well, P. Diddy is definitely the guy that just took the bull by the horn and said, fuck it, I'm doing it my way. And just fearless, man. Fearless about whatever he wanted to do, he did it. And you can't say any otherwise.
Didn't P. Diddy come from Heavy D?
He was I thought he was an intern with Uptown Records back in the day under God, what's his name? He passed away. But P. Diddy was an intern first, and he took off from there, which was Uptown Records, Andre Harrell. He was interning for Andre Harrell. And then things didn't work out. I mean, I don't really know the whole story, but they didn't treat him well. And then he went somewhere else, started his own thing.
Yes, he was a backup. He was a backup dancer for Big Daddy Kane and Heavy D.
Yes, back in the day, the man hustles, but he just had a determination. He still does. And then when I was in New York, he would always be at Peppermint Lounge or Manhattan Proper, where they would do comedy. They would have. So I think that's where later on he did Bad Boys of Comedy. I think that sort of came up because he loves comedy. He has a big thing for comedy. But yeah.
I just want to take a moment to let people know that I'm speaking with Masavia Greer, who's a veteran of the New York comedy scene, who has worked with some of the world's biggest comedic talent for over 20 years. Masavia managed multiple clubs in New York City, including the Boston Comedy Club and Stand Up New York. He was a talent coordinator for HBO's Bad Boys of Comedy Season 2 and worked on the production side of Comedy Central, The Conan O'Brien Show, and more. Masavia provides himself on mentoring new and emerging comics, as well as advising seasoned veterans. Now, here's the thing, though, and this is the thing y'all need to know, is he's working with Mike George on Comedy Anatomy, which delves into the minds of comedians and tries to understand how they navigate the comedy industry and the world at large, which is important because, I mean, we laugh so hard, man. You know, you all help us get through all the crap that we go through on a daily basis that we really don't take time to find out about who are you all. Like, what do you all go through? And this is an important time for your show because you got the Me Too movement, right? That's really um, opening up all the wounds, and people are seeing like how much women are actually abused, are truly abused in this industry, how much Black people are abused in these industries. And so I look at what you're doing and I'm like, oh, this is a solution. This is an incredible solution. You know, so I want to thank you for that work. But I have one question for you, and I'm gonna open it up for other people to ask questions. And
Sure.
this is gonna be my kind of a bombshell. um and it's gonna be telling of myself, but being that you're here, I gotta ask you because, you know, getting to know you, you know what I'm saying? I've come to like, you know, I read some of the stuff that you post, man. You know what I'm saying? I look at how you are, how you treat the women around you, the community around you, you know what I'm saying? And how human you are, you know what I'm saying? And so here's my question. So in my history of activism and as a Black man, right, I really get frustrated at Black people in the industry who become big because I feel like, wow, why can't you all do that for us, right? And then when I see someone like you who's in the business, right, and you know, successful and you're working with all these other people, right, and I see what you're doing, I kind of like feel like maybe I'm missing something. Like what am I missing? You know, what I'm not seeing. So my question to you is, as a Black man being in the industry, um, do you feel oppressed in the industry? Do you feel um, is it abusive? And do you feel there's a way that you can build and continue building for yourself and those around you?
Um, and I guess I'll that's a good question. It's kind of, it has three different parts when I look at it that way. I mean, now I don't consider myself and I'll say successful because um I think it's just a job, right? It's been a job, right? And I look at it as work. I think in the industry, you have to sort of make your own footprint, right? I know there is racism, there is all these things that can hold us back, but when you really believe in something and you believe in what you're doing as a performer or as a business person, you have to really know and learn your craft, whatever it is, right? Know it to the point where no one can really tell you how to and what to do. Um, and that gives you leverage when you know each parts of the business. You can be a great performer, but not know business, right? Or you can be a great businessman, but not understand the compassion and what it takes to be a performer. So you have to try to know everything. I think it's an abusive business, not just for Black people in general.
Yeah,
The business is tough anyway.
yeah,
And on top of it, there is racism in everything. I mean, there is the good old boys club, there's the private club. You want to get in that circle, but you have to create your own circle in so many ways. Because if you let that hold you back, the less successful you will be, and you will feel like you don't have a place. You have to really psych yourself up, meaning you have to believe in yourself first, because nobody else is going to do it for you.
right,
Nobody's going to believe in you like yourself.
right,
Now, if what you're doing is not good, you might have to look at it and reassess and say, maybe I'm not good at that. But if you really believe in it and you're getting feedback and people are telling you what you're doing is good, you have to continue going. I mean, Cat Williams always said, I want people to hate me, right? I always love his comedy because he always said, I love haters because they let me know I'm doing something right, right? But at the same time, you want to know that what you're doing is on the up and up. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question. I don't
Yeah.
feel like it's an abusive business. I think um, you you have to have integrity, right? You have to, especially, and it's harder for women in the sense that all these things that happen, right? The Me Too movement, everything really sort of came out, which it should have. But um, you do have to have a strength that just beats the odds. You have to believe it, because I can't influence you. No one else can. You have to believe it. And so I think the industry is really more or less um, belief, luck, belief, because everybody, there's so many talented people out there, and still they're not successful. You know, and I'm talking about on a performance level. I know very talented comedians, but they're not. You don't even know who they are. So it's a lot of pieces to it. You know, not that I have the answers. I don't have all the answers, but from my perspective, this is from my perspective. So
I'm sorry. I do have one last question that I have to ask that must go along with the mission of the show. Have you seen drugs like destroy careers?
oh,
Um,
of
And
course.
what has allowed you to continue on the road that you're on so that you're healthy and doing what you have to do?
I mean, I'm sure I've of course I can talk about being an addict of drugs, drinking, in my 20s. Yeah. Um, but as I got older and I saw the downfall of it, I realized I have to value myself. And the more you value yourself, the more you are able to push back on that, right? But I've seen drugs destroy people. Oh my God. And guys are at the top, but that one thing on their shoulder is that addiction, because it just doesn't allow you to move forward. It tells you can't. Um, and once you value yourself, and I'm going to say, I'm not a religious person, but I'm going to say God, your higher power. You have to value that. If you do, I think you have more of a chance of beating that and being successful in your own way, you know. But I mean, what do you define as successful? You know,
Right.
that's for each individual.
Thank you. I thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna open up for questions for those who came in order. Dennis, do you have any questions for Masavia?
I was going to ask the same thing you just asked your last question, but I
Oh,
appreciate.
Dennis, okay, Dennis Wasaki.
Did he pronounce?
what'd you say, Dennis?
I said he pronounced my last name correctly. So
All right, cool. And thanks a lot for coming on, Dennis. I really appreciate you being here. And by the way, Masavia, we have some really, really deep individuals here. So, brace yourselves. Brace yourself. Call it. What caller is this? Caller number 3. Hello, caller 3. Caller 3. I just see you unmuted your phone, caller 3.
Was that
We'll come back to caller 3.
is that Whitney?
No. Whitney, how you doing, Whitney? Welcome, Whitney. Whitney Rainwater. Whitney, do you have any questions for Masavia?
No, actually, no. I was just soaking it all in. I'm sitting here listening, especially with everything that I've got going on. I'm just like, okay, I'm soaking
You
it in.
listening to me babble?
No, actually, it was really I took it to heart, especially with going, like I said, with what I do. It takes like as of before this call, I'm sitting here going like, dude, can I do this? Like, I got a lot on my plate, and things are coming out. And I'm like, dude, am I really? This has got my name. This is a lot of stuff. And so when hearing you, I'm just like, yeah, I got this. I can do it.
So what do
So
you
no,
do, Whitney?
yeah.
What are you into?
Well, so it started out that I, was modeling and stuff, and then I just got more into community and working with artists of all types and models and just different people networking. I got into activism and actually started out here in Seattle with working with the Black Panthers. So we're actually in the community working with other organizations, to really go and make different changes. And it started out with me and two guys. So I'm the girl. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I got this. Because then, we're bringing people in and, we're setting up meetings and they're like, what do you think? I'm like, okay, yes, we got this, so I'm studying, different subjects. So I'm just like, like tomorrow we're doing a protest and we're also up literally community, trying to get people out there. So we're doing it ourselves and everything. And so, and then people are like, oh, you're Whitney. I'm like, yeah, so it's like, sometimes I kind of like, I got this, so hearing that for me, I was like, yeah, because, it's a message I need to hear.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's just starting, and that sounds like sometimes when you try to do too much planning, you end up not doing it, because you think about it too much,
Mhm.
or then you talk yourself out of it because it's like, oh my God, I got to do all this. And sometimes when you just start and you have somebody on the same page, it just builds from there, you know. Um, and that's just one step forward, and it just keeps going, you know.
I
Yeah.
know. I think back a year ago, and I'm like, how did I get here? Okay, so and I'm like, and every day is like a new day, and I'm just like, okay, here we go, and we're out in like the small Black businesses, and we're out there with meeting new people, and making our own like community programs and stuff. So and I get a bunch of calls and they're just like, Whitney, do you want to do this? I'm like, I got somebody. I can't be everywhere, so, but, like some reason I was chosen to do this part. So I'm like, I got this. I can do
Well, yeah,
this.
I mean, too, once you realize how important it is, and people come to you, then you have your business, So
Yeah.
you take it seriously because it's becoming a business, what you're offering, you
Hmm.
know, and you should solidify that and not be afraid to, you know,
I'm
take
not.
that, be that person, be that CEO or, you know, the leader. Most of us are afraid to be leaders, I think, sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's a hard thing because then you know, it the work, the responsibility falls on you, and sometimes we don't want to be responsible for other people, when it boils down to it, right? We can say we're in this group, but sometimes when you are a leader, it just, people come to you and you may have that energy, that power that you just don't understand, and you eventually will take that role and you have to embrace it, you know. Sometimes some of us can, some of us can't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think about everything I've done before, just through my life, and I'm like, oh, I got this, and then I like to empower other women. So
Oh, that's
people,
great.
I'm like, you got this, queen, so I've always tried to encourage women because I know what it took for me and all the obstacles I had, being a woman. And so I'm like, you guys, you can do this too, I promise you. Like, I'm right here with you, I got you.
Oh, that's great. That's
So yeah, but
needed.
hearing you just definitely like, okay, I got this.
And I'm gonna say this, Whitney. Um, since I've gotten to know you, you've had some impact on my life too. Listen, Savior, if you ever want to know about fasting, and you're scared to do it, do not talk to Whitney. Because you're going to end up fasting for 3 damn days, bro. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man.
Hey
And we
man,
had this,
I have a civil rights mom and a father that fasted, and my mom was she's she's 78, and that woman still she's into her herbs, and you know, and she actually, I don't know if you are familiar with Dr. Sabi.
yeah. Oh,
So
Vegan.
yes.
my mom designed their first logo, which was a plant. It was a sort of a flower called Ogun. And she used to bring me around as a kid around Dr. Sabi. But she was a big, she was involved in their organization a lot. And she still takes their herbs to this day. And so, but she's trying to get me to do these cleansers. And I'm like, I'm just not ready for this right now. Because I want to go out sometimes. And I'm like, this is not what I want to be dealing with today. Right.
Bro,
But
when you're ready, let me know. I'll hit up Whitney.
it's gonna be a long time before I'm ready, bro.
And we'll, and we'll have,
I,
hey,
I don't have to cleanse. I'm vegan. I only eat fruits and vegetables. So it's not a hard thing for me. Like, I researched what to do, but I'm completely vegan. So I'm not passing out after 3 days. Not on the ground. I'm good.
I need a little weight on my body. I can't be completely thinned
You,
out here. I don't.
you could eat. I mean, there's really good stuff. And believe me, there's some, not just a vegan doesn't mean you're starving. Everybody has different weight classes, right? Everybody's
Mm.
different. So there are some, different size vegans. I'm very small naturally, so it doesn't really matter too
Well,
much.
I've seen some vegans, boy. I tell you. Whoa.
Yeah, so it's the same thing because I mean they have vegan junk food that, like, I'm sorry, the carrot's good, but if you fry it, it's still not gonna be healthy. I'm just saying.
and so
So
one of the reasons why I brought that up is because Whitney, I just wanted to say that you do influence people. You do have an impact. And I know for myself, man, coming from foster care, being in jail and stuff like that, and like I've always wanted to have an impact on foster care and you know,
Mm.
create space where foster children who've been abused can have a place to speak. And no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, if it's my event, any foster child that raises their hand that says I need to speak will get the podium, no matter
Oh,
what.
that's beautiful, man. I didn't realize too. And that's one of the things my mom did. She worked with she did art therapy in Lorton Prison for 15 years, but she developed a program for incarcerated men and women.
Wow.
And
you know,
yeah, no,
go ahead, go ahead.
no,
No,
but
no,
she
you're
did that, and she would drag me along, and when I was young, and she would be like, "I need you to come with me, understand what I'm doing." And one of the things about her when she would work with a person, an incarcerated person, she never looked at their records, and so she could work with them. She made it a point not to, because she was saying everybody needs love and understanding, and that's how you're going to heal everybody. Yeah. Everybody is human. Everybody deserves a chance to figure it out. They make mistakes, but that's it, and that's something I always carry with me. I always carry that with me, you know. And to your question, Whitney, whatever you want to.
Oh, about the helping. The question I on Facebook I asked a question about black health counselors, and the reason I asked Maurice is because the young lady who had asked that question, who I shared, I had met her through community, like what we were doing, but she is autistic,
Uh-huh.
and so she
Mm,
she literally has been asking for help, and she literally um, doesn't have a support system. So
mm.
Right.
so I met her a couple times, and I just watched her, and I was just kind of like, she's asking for help. I'm gonna help her. That's why I was
Oh,
doing
that's
that.
wonderful.
That's what I do. I look and I'm like, that they need help. So that's when I start reaching out to people and figuring out what I can do to help them. So,
Mm,
just me even pushing that out there, it puts it into the atmosphere. It puts it out there that, you know, somebody's going to see it, so that, you know, somebody's going to be able to help her. It's not me, but somebody else can.
You know, and the question around the therapy, is that what you're talking about? That
Yeah,
question. So
that's why I stopped it.
when I read it, it didn't, to me, I didn't read, you know, I need help finding a therapist. Does anybody know a Black therapist? I didn't read that, right? To me, I read like, there is a shortage of Black therapists. We need Black therapists, so on and so forth, right? And so to me, the Black child who, you know, who met a Black therapist who's like really religious, you know what I'm saying, or who know Black therapists who rely on their religion, I'm like, no, we need therapists who can go beyond religion. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I responded with like, because there's this, I believe Black people need to come together type mentality that I have, right? But then there's this like, we're all human beings, right? I don't want to live within this concept of thinking that was created by white men. You know what I'm saying? I want to enjoy this world that was created by a higher being. You know what I'm saying? And so, in order for me to do that, I need support by someone who cares about me just because I'm a person, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
so when I responded to that, let me just finish real quick. So when I was looking for my therapist, right, I went with this white person, right? I couldn't find a Black therapist, right? You know, but the Black folks that I did, no, I actually did look for a couple, and it was like a religious based organizations, and I was like, nah, I can't do that, right? And then so this first white lady I connected with, right? Like I really didn't want to get with her because she was white. She's not gonna understand where I'm coming from, right? But listening to her, right, she wasn't trying to be an ally. You know what I'm saying? Um, but she wasn't bringing all this other BS. You feel what I'm saying? And so I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a neutral zone. You know what I'm saying? And I was right, there was. And so, but she left, and then they tried to pair me with this other white woman who's like earthy, crunchy, like really trying to be an ally. And I was like, nah, this is really uncomfortable. I'm not here for that. You know what I'm saying? And then so I went out on a search and I called different places again, look for Black folks, this and that, listen to the Black organizations and stuff like that, reading their missions and so on and so forth, right? And then I'd ask them certain questions, you know what I'm saying? Like my revolutionary questions and stuff, right? And as Black people, they could not even address those questions. So I was like, it just sounds like European style ways of like addressing counseling, which I don't need. You know what I'm saying? I need something far more open. And then I met this Japanese woman, right, who uses some quote unquote some radical techniques and stuff like that that isn't just pushing medication, but it's almost like combined with I don't know if you heard of um, motivational interviewing. And then there's another.
No, I haven't actually. No.
Yeah, it's actually it's really effective. So motivational interviewing and internal family system theory, right? So motivational interviewing is kind of like a part of that. And so, but the part that she uses helps external. It helps you see the problem rather than viewing yourself as the problem, right? And it's the way that she comes along, right? Um, and so it really helped me out because I come from like a lot of trauma. You know what I'm saying? And so the reason why I'm saying that is because she's the first person that I met that was willing to really sit down with all my trauma and really connect with me and all my flaws. You know what I'm saying? And really truly help me out. And she's Japanese, so my thing was like it's not just about the color of the person, but it's about what they're bringing to the table and how they're to help you out. And that's what I was trying to do.
Sure, I agree with that.
So I apologize if I messed that up, but
No, and I got that, and that's fine. See, and I was looking at it because from that, you know, being that I met her before, and because I model, I also know autistic models and stuff, and there's some that they write completely fine, but they explain it that they see like it's fragments. So them being autistic, there's fragments. So to, to me, she's asking for help because she's said it many times, but you reading something different because she's not sure how. Because now that I understand that, it's not getting across to anybody. It just seems like it's another girl asking, so it's not getting across to anybody. Because she said she's been like this all her life.
Before I forget, there is someone I do know locally.
Mm-hmm.
Her son has autism. She's done all this work, and she has a lot of connections nationally. So if you reach me, I'll reach out to her, and I'll connect you two up to see if there's some resources she might have.
Yeah, and see, it didn't to me. Just that post alone gave like a healthy conversation. So for me, that's what that's what I do when I'm because I'm gonna help somebody some way somehow. Let me figure it out. So that right there. So I do not get offended by
No,
it.
that's wonderful. I mean, that's what's important. It's I mean, in doing what you do, it's hard to facilitate everyone, I guess, right? I mean, when you think
I don't
about
get
it, yeah.
my Facebook is fun. I like to have fun. I joke around. I let people be them. I do not care.
Well, I
So
mean, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna because you guys know I love this part, right? Savior, you have to give us a topic. Oh, actually, hold on. Caller 3, are you there? Caller 3. You're on mute, caller 3. I hear you trying. You want to try to hang up and call back? All right, so let's say here's the deal, right? So you choose a topic, then you speak on that topic, right? And then we will go and we will write poetry or whatever it is that we do, right, to that topic for 5 minutes. And then we come back and we share. That's that cultural exchange.
So you're saying pick a topic and you write it. You guys will write it out.
Well, you choose a topic and then you speak to us about that topic for like about 5 minutes, right? And based upon the information you give, we will write about that topic and then we'll come back and we share our works.
Okay. I guess you know what, lately, I guess one of my biggest concerns is mental illness. Mental
Speak,
illness.
brother, speak.
Mental illness, being in New York, there is there's a lot of mentally ill people that do not have a place to go. And so they are everywhere. They need help. They they cut the funding, I believe, for a lot of the facilities that, and I think they cut them a long time ago, but now everything is sort of built up and you have more homeless people now and a lot more mentally ill people out. And it's there's a lot of attacks. You have the Asian attack, you have Asian people being attacked, you have guys with knives, blah 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 blah. I don't want to make New York sound like the 70s, but we're getting there, like the days of the warriors, but it's almost in that direction. But I would like to see something done for mental illness, like a bill passed, something bigger, because it's needed in our society. People are very upset. people are very, with everything that's happened this past year, a lot of people have really gone into a state of depression. A lot of people are very frantic. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what their futures are like. So it causes a lot of anxiety. So, I mean, I would like to see something done about something really, really solid, like just more money towards social workers, psychiatrists, therapists, because it's needed more than anything else right now, I think. Yeah. So that's my explanation for, or that's what's on my mind when I think about mental illness right now. So on that topic, you can add to it, but that's how I feel right now. I don't know where, I don't know when it's going to change. I just don't know, but it's not a great feeling right now. So Maurice, you could add to that.
All right, so I got two songs. One by J. Roz, Like Water, and I got Tim Bless, Glad to Be Alive. And so as those two tracks are playing, we're gonna write.
Okay.
See, you know
And just
what?
so you know, and I have about 10 minutes because I have another
Okay.
another call. So I just
So let's get to it, man. You just struck a bone right here. Struck a nerve. Y'all ready?
let's do it.
Let's get it. Can you hear the music?
I can somewhat hear it.
What'd you say?
I can hear it. I can somewhat hear it. Yes.
Reality, principality, I and I so rock side many means. I love them, like I love the seven seas. I love them, like the best memories. This moment beyond fantasy, like the hush, baked by trees, the leaves, water in the breeze. Silent like the speed, without other speech. So unique, let go of my ego, let this moment be so painful. So grateful today, I'm a late or a sky blue and yellow bright halo. Balance. It's real. To be alive, just moment. Take control of my life, just moment. I've been found to do stay focused. In this life, to be alive, just moment. Take control of my life, just moment. I've been found to do stay focused. In this life. Can it taste me? I was born to lead. I know what it takes. I'm living my dreams. I know you believe to a 180. Spit up stream. I up to the left. Y'all see the beam. Thinking for the fruits. Break the routine. I know like the people change. Just can't change. You already want to you're the beauty. Until I want to, you ain't gotta agree. I ain't got another choice, so I gotta commit. Cause the way it's so long, I'm so glad to be free. It's oh, yeah, I'm don't save my career. Don't let's go to next. Got to be alive, just moment. Take control of my life, holding. I've been playing, stay focused in this life. Got to be alive, just moment. Take control of my life, holding. I've been Stay focused in the sky. Life. I gotta shine bright, giving thanks in the moment, waking up from the night. We can change with the dance, with this moment is right. And I dance with the grace that you gave me, little light. I pay for my wife. On stage, flying like a kite. Music is my friends. Watch us take flight to the spring coast snap. Reaching new heights now. I'm glad to be the rock. Floating, take control of my life. Open, I've been fun making moves, stay focused in this life. Just life to be in this moment. Take control of my life. Open, I've been fun making moves, stay focused in this life. In this life.
So what's the lines they're saying? I can't hear that.
Stay focused. Yeah.
When they're doing the hook.
Stay focused. Yeah, in this life. In this moment. Life. In this. Stay focused. Yeah. In this life. Life. Moment. Take control of my life. Yeah. Life be alive. Moment. Take control of my life. Moment. I can stay focused in this life.
I'm glad to be alive at this moment.
Ah, okay.
Take control of this life because I own it.
I like that.
Life.
Like that. And who is that?
Tim Bless.
Tim Bless.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the first time I've ever. I'm not as hip as I used to be.
Nah, he's I'm the Northeast Region Director of Hip Hop Congress. So I collect all these independent artists so I can work to get their voice out.
Oh, that's great, man. Because I grew up with hip hop, and I'm such an old school guy. I go back to the old school, but I used to love the independent state. You know, they used to have a lot of those stations here. They're not here anymore, but you know, I used to be able to pick up independent rappers and stuff like CDs on the streets. You know, but now it's, you know, you don't hear this anymore. But
Take control, y'all. Your life.
that's cool, man, that you're doing that. I like that. You know.
Thanks.
How
Yes.
many artists? I mean, I'm sure you hit thousands of artists in a month, right?
Give me 1 second.
Yes. Yes. This life. Yes. Energy. Corey Jones. Ian Himmel. Calvin Grace. The Everest. Esther G. Rotary Record Studio. You can't be button at one time. You only need to play at one shot. I try to hold but I can't. You gave me that like one time. You only need to when I want you. I try to hold you, but I got you. My fresh air, I can't breathe unless you're near. I feel a shadow and I lose my cool when you walk in the room. I can feel your doubt. You can be my room. Never met a man that could swing my heart. God, pull me up, you play the part. You done. As an art, maybe each day feel like a new start. You match my beat, match please to passionate heat. I sweat from my palms to my feet. You make me so damn weak. I love the technique, you're so damn unique. Rebel race fits with soul screen and soul sensitivity. With the more smash getting slow. If you're ready, then the world is mine. Only I can find you every night. You gave me that like one time. You only need to when I want you. I try to hold you, but I can't. You gave me that like one time. You only need to when I want you. I try to hold you, but I can't. Stand from the heavens, yeah, it's gotta be true. Again, you and there's no one like you. Politically poetical, you make my heart melt. Don't keep your faulty breaks, things my soul has never felt. You are the reason love's created. Got to make it before you had to leave the heavens. Found love in you, get your wings to grow. Big words from music, so natural. Smile like an angel singing on my lips. Smooth like your fingertips. Sweet caress if your words make my heart stop. Steal my breath, make my chest hot. You gave me that like one time. You only need to play my one time. I try to hold you, but I can't. You gave me that like one time. You only need to play my one time. I try to hold you, but I can't.
Okay, I got a few minutes. I got 2 minutes.
All right.
2 minutes. Because
I'm so in love with you.
Where you at, Whitney?
I guess we'll see.
Dennis, did you write anything, Dennis?
Yeah,
And
real
and,
quick.
and Miss Savior, you can I can send you the YouTube link as well.
okay.
But go ahead, Whitney.
Okay.
Love to hear it.
I stand in the mirror scared, not knowing who I'll be today. There's 7 voices in my head. I cry out for help. 7 voices echo like white light. I call the ones to protect me. 7 voices telling me to fight for help. 7 cops all around me. 7 voices in my head. I reached for my letter in my pocket. Those 7 voices getting louder. There's a loud bang. 7 voices quieted. 1 bullet to my head. That's one of the 7 voices in my head. But I stand in the mirror, ready to live my life fully with 7 voices that nobody will know, but they're all in my head.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Dennis, go ahead,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.
All right, mine's much quicker and not as good.
Thank you,
So I
Whitney.
just wrote,
Thank you,
compassion and
Whitney.
empathy. Sorry. Compassion and empathy isn't the real cure. How can I make someone pure? My ignorance at times makes me ignore. And that's mine.
Oh, that's tight, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna rush through this. Thanks, Dennis. This is called Quiet Children. Last night my BP raised 180 over 145. I was cleaning my new place, mine, all mine. I thought it would be pine, shallow grave, small service. As I lay on the bed, the nurse and EMTs were arguing with the machine. It can't be. The pressure's too high. He would be stroking. I looked at her and said, not joking. Call my doc. I don't want my heart to pop. I was shaking, body tensing from acute anxiety. That started when they kidnapped me from my mom, back when he made a 5-year-old put my mouth on his penis, back when I was forced to watch her tied up and beaten, back when she would take and beat me and beat me and beat me, back in the dark when he covered my mouth, back when another he, back when another he, back when another she What keeps me holding on? I'm scared of these streets. I'm not scared of these streets. I'm just tired. The ones that helped me put me in harm's way. Those that could help believe that they're helpless and now help is further away. Lobbyists fill the space we leave when we believe that we're not the leaders we need, which makes us quiet children, leaving the rest of the children helpless. We can no longer be quiet.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Hey, it's thank you for having me on, man. This is a pleasure, man. Really.
Thank you.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank
So
you.
let's do it again.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. You come to
It's
New
nice.
York, let me know.
All right. No,
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Whitney Rainwater, how you doing?
I'm all right.
That's what's up. I just gotta save this poem real quick. Yo, that was dope. Can you read yours again, please?
Well, the end of it, I wasn't finished, so I had to kind of, I gotta do it again. No.
Yeah, whatever you got. Come on, yo.
Okay. I
You-
stand in the mirror, scared, not knowing who I'll be today. There's 7 voices in my head. I cry out for help. Seven voices echo like white light. I called once to protect me. 7 voices telling me to fight for help. 7 cop cars all around me. I reached for my letter in my pocket. The 7 voices getting louder. There's one loud bang. 7 voices quieted with 1 bullet in my head. That's one of the 7 voices in my head. But I stand in the mirror ready to live my day with 7 voices with nobody knowing that there's 7 voices in my head.
Hey, Dennis, can you read yours? Thank you, Whitney.
You're welcome.
Wait, hold up. Before you go, Dennis, you said 7 voices in your head.
Mhm.
Do they are they? Dang, I wish I had it in front of me so I could read it again. I'm gonna go over this video. I'm gonna go over this video, and I'm gonna be listening to that poem, and I'm gonna just be going over it and going over it. Now, what about the gun to your head?
So when mentally people who need help, and that's what's happening right now, they need help. And when cops are pulling up and they're shooting them, they don't know what's going on in their head.
That's
So
right.
with you don't, that's exactly what he was talking about earlier. So mental health problems, they're not getting the help they need.
No, they're not. They're being murdered.
And that is right there. 7 voices in my head ask for help.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dennis, can you read yours again?
Sure. I just wrote, compassion and empathy isn't the real cure. How can I make someone pure? My ignorance at times makes me ignore.
Wow. 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 There's like there's those short words that like here comes along a certain professor, ends up doing a whole damn dissertation on 8 words. That'd be those 8 words that a professor do a whole damn dissertation on and write a 500-page book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's dope, Dennis. When was the last time you wrote, Whitney?
No, I haven't been writing.
Okay.
I've been reading a lot. I've been reading a lot, reading different things, studying different things right now, really.
And Dennis, is that the first time you wrote, or do you normally write?
No, that's the first time. You got me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah,
That's what's
I
up.
was like, oh crap. So I really just had to come up with that, just like that. I really was like, the number 7, let's go with that. That's how I
Well, thank you guys for coming up out of that zone.
You're welcome. Well, being there also, I mentioned about when them being autistic and them saying it's fragmented, you know, so that's how I've actually asked other people who have had like head injuries, and they say that it happens with them too. So that's where I kind of started asking people questions about it.
So they're saying that head injuries comes with fragmented thoughts. Is that what you're saying?
And head injuries, they, you know, sometimes they do. Some people have, you know, just injuries and like memory problems, all stuff like that. So you gotta, you know, they gotta understand that a lot of it isn't vocal. A lot of it people can't understand. You know, not just, I mean, even from individuals, you know, children, you know, born with disabilities. You know, that it's not. If you have a headache, it's hard for you to think straight. You know, if you're not feeling, you know, so imagine having other, you know, disabilities and stuff, you know, especially head stuff, mental illness, you know, anything that's messing with your brain it's not going to be normal. So people need to be aware of that.
Right.
You know, and understand that some people need more help than others in different ways too, especially different ways.
See, you just you got me wanting to really open up about mental illness in poetry. Okay, I'll think about it. You guys mind if I read some poetry for you guys?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Some of these are older pieces. This one I wrote this past summer. It's called Mr. Magdalene. And I wrote it because the idea of Mary Magdalene, right? Like, I wrote it for a couple reasons. Here, let me read it and then we'll talk about it, all right?
Okay.
It's called Mr. Magdalene, an orphan that cried little, saw things most didn't, though things many couldn't, thought things many couldn't. Trauma, that thought many things that you couldn't. Trauma, will for you to live outside the box in limbo, perhaps, clenching onto affection, a little attention. I let her have, she never stayed. I was never sure, anyways. The night she molested me in the dark basement, the night he covered my mouth, the day he put his penis in my mouth, I was 6. The night I was high and slept with my foster mother was the beginning of the end that stole most of my soul. What's left is handicapped. I hop along, grasping at what's good. To fill the void, the bottomless, to fill the void that feels bottomless, all these moments and still lonely that point at me. They sneer, they laugh, they call me a hoe. But I will change it all. I will do it. I won't do it overnight, but Jesus never walked my way. If he did, I would have touched the hem of his garment. But we're in the pandemic now. I wonder if Mary would reach out now, possibly. Church folks with their mask on. Here I would have been friends with Jesus. He would have saved me. As I would have called out to him, and all this blackness and emptiness that comes with it, gravitating to which that feels good. Sex never solved these problems. I'm finding it overrated, love overstated, but I try. These days are moments of desperation. Yet it's me, oh Lord, Mr. Magdalene. That's a hard read, but I got to rewrite it. But I wrote that because when we look at Mary Magdalene, right, and people like, just demonize her as a hoe or a prostitute, right? And people never talk about like why people have a lot of sex or prostituting, right? But the other aspect too is that men doing the same exact thing are looked at differently than women who are doing all the same exact thing. So I wanted to open up and give some more behind that idea of Mr. Magdalene. Like, you never know. Sometimes people are born into prostitution, whether they're men or women. Sometimes their parents have been into it, and that's what they were taught. You know what I'm saying? And or sometimes like they've been through traumatic situations, and the way that they come out of those traumatic situations, everything's suspect, and so they're isolated, right? And they're forced to like fend for themselves and use whatever they have left, which is our bodies. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the whole sex things, like people raped and molested, and how they respond to being raped. You know what I'm saying? Is different. In my case, there was a being molested so many different times. It's kind of hard to know like what's yours and what's mine. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I had the it was this long road to coming to this point of being able to say like no. Like I had to sleep with so many different women to prove that like I like women, that I wasn't gay because I was raped. You know what I'm saying? Or to prove like that's what I like. You know what I mean? Like it was a long time before I could really say like no, like I don't like who you are as a person. Like not like I should sleep with you because you're a woman. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a man. You know what I mean? And on the outside, a lot of people just put on labels like, oh, he's a hoe or she's a hoe, right? But in reality, there's like all this stuff that human beings do to each other that affect our brains because we don't live in like a real healing society, in a more judgmental society. You know what I'm saying? We lash out in so many different types of ways, you know. And so Mr. Magdalene is that poem that calls into question the people that called Mary Magdalene a hoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if she went through these things that I've been through? And what if she acts the way that I acted and responded to these things? Right? But wait, you still calling her a hoe, yet you say you love Jesus and God, but yet she was already forgiven, so why do you continue on? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wrote that piece. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I liked it.
Thank you.
But what about the end, Mo, where it says like if she had religion or they had religion, it could have been completely avoided. Do you hear what?
So I'll read the end again, right? They pointed at me, they sneered, they laughed, they called me a hoe. I will change it all. I would do it overnight, but Jesus never walked my way. I would have touched the hem of his garment. We're in a pandemic now. I wonder if Mary would reach out now, possibly chokes folks with their church mask on. Her and I would have been friends. Jesus would have saved me, and I would have
Yeah,
I
that's
would
what I was catching on to.
I would have asked him about blackness and this emptiness that comes with it. Gravitating to which feels good. Sex never solved these problems. I find it overrated. Love overstated, but I try. These days and moments of desperation. Yes, it's me, oh Lord. Go ahead, Dennis.
I'm just saying, even if Jesus was your friend, horrible things happen, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I was being more facetious in this poem, right? Like, well, I was being more facetious, and I was kind of being like a little hopeful because, like, well, you have to know my history of religion, but I don't really believe in Jesus like that. You know what I'm saying? Because of my history with religion and being abused by religious people. So I was kind of being like, well, if I known Jesus, like I'd be healed already. It was kind of like being, what's that word? Sarcastic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of like, damn, if I knew Jesus, I'd be healed already. You know what I'm saying? Because I know me, like, yo, Jesus is coming through. Like, yo, I would have went to him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
A lot
yo,
of people feel like they could have been healed quicker, or it would have been prevented completely.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so, but the thing is, bro, like, here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing, right? Like, so should I be searching for a cure, or should I be searching for a way to continue through what I'm going through and just handling it much better? You know what I'm saying? And so, being that what I know now, like, there really is no cure, I need to figure out a way to handle what I'm going through much better. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's a partial cure to
I
deal
mean,
with, move on.
yeah, I mean, there's what do we call them? What do you call it? Like, when you're learning to deal with when you're,
Coping mechanisms.
yeah, coping mechanisms. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are. Yeah, there are. All right, and this one is called. Let's see. Do I want to read that one? I wonder what happened with Call of Three. You know what I'm about to do, Whitney, right?
What?
I'm about to put Jerry on blast.
What? I'm gonna have to put it on. I'm gonna have to take the video off because I gotta cook dinner still. Oh, I've got a protest tomorrow.
What are you making?
Oh, I'm just meal prepping because I have a protest tomorrow,
What are you guys
and
What are you guys protesting?
we are doing. Oh, no, excuse me. No, tomorrow we're doing community cleanup, and then we have a vigil for uh, Saeed. He was shot by police, so we will be with his family tomorrow releasing balloons.
Are you doing any of that on video?
No, it's just a family thing in the community.
Okay. If you do anything that you need like attention drawn to, let me know. You can always put it on my page.
All right.
And my condolences.
Oh no, it's definitely we're trying to support the families, and really fight for justice. So we're gonna be out there with them.
It's crazy like how much this continues to happen.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But
So we're gonna continue fighting and working with the community and working with different community leaders and really just keep going. We're not gonna give up.
and this is why I think healing is so important, because if someone's not healing on the back end, then people give up quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like an overwhelming force. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for the work that you're doing, Whitney. I admire you. I don't know if you know how much I admire you, but I do.
Thank you. It took a lot of self work and inner work for me to get to this point. A year ago, I don't think I would have been able to do this. I had to really work on myself.
Imagine where you're gonna be 7 years from now. Incredible.
I'm gonna be on a spaceship. No, I'm kidding.
I'll have to come up with $500 to get you on my show.
Oh my gosh. A year can make such a big difference. It's crazy to me. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm gonna read one more, and then oh, this one is called Brotherly Love.
Okay.
It's called the Houdini prayer. Houdini, they allowed me to utilize their picture to write this poem. And so I do what I call pick poetry. And let me see if I can actually share it. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brotherly Love, Houdini prayer. Huddle. Like trios, rap groups came and went. Like gushing and mild winds, many careers dissipated. Prayer is the foundation that kept this house standing. Action is the buoyancy that kept the ship afloat. Sailing across the world, blessing many hearts, making minds shake, eyes, feet stumped, hands clapped. Brotherly love kept hate at bay. Transparency kept the group together while temptation beat at the soul. Chain of hugs ministered to the soul's strength. Music glued this family together. Lyrics spit to rhymes created a new road to freedom. Divine intervention created a new freedom window to look from, a new door to walk through. Brotherly love will keep building this nation. Brotherly love. Houdini proud. That's it.
I like it.
I want to thank you all for coming through. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you.
you.
Hey, Dennis, I hope you enjoyed the interview.
Definitely. Hopefully you have a part 2.
There will be a part 2. I just got to figure out what's next. Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it, bro. It's good to see you, man.
You too. Always.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, Whitney. Be blessed, man. Thank you for the energy that you bring.
Thank you. You're welcome. I love doing it. I love being on here. I love, meeting and talking and getting new points of views and everything. So I appreciate it.
We got Kevin Glover coming up in a couple weeks, who's a movie producer, so on and so forth. I'll let you know
Okay.
when it is.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Peace. I want to thank all of you who tuned in to Poetic Recovery, another wonderful, beautiful, and successful evening. This weekend, this Friday night, we got to interview Masavia Greer, a veteran of the New York comedy scene, and who now has who's on a program hosts a program, Comedy Anatomy. Let me get that up so I can give you all the right information. Host co-host Comedy Anatomy with Mike George. Comedy Anatomy delves into the minds of comedians and tries to understand how they navigate the industry and the world at large. Now, let me tell you something, right? So tonight I was able to be on here and interview Savior Greer. And the reason why I say it in the reason why I say it like that is because some people don't realize that some people don't know why they're in whatever they're in, the frustrations that they're in, the current traumatic experiences that they're in, don't know what we can become or the things that we can do. Here I am in my basement, man. I just got to interview Savior Greer. It's amazing. It's beautiful. You know, it's going to be a part 2, definitely. Just got to figure out the part 2. Definitely have to come up with some better questions, some hard-hitting questions. But you've heard some great work that came out between myself, Whitney, and Dennis in response to Masavia's topic on mental illness. Mental illness is definitely an issue. Like Black people, people with mental illness of all different color, economic backgrounds, man, are being murdered is because they have a mental issue. And let's face it, you know, Black people, people with mental illness, women are being abused by police simply for the fact that we're not seen as fiduciary, economic viable component of this government. But we need to continue to love each other, stick up for each other, educate each other, and become part of the leadership so that we can have a better nation in which we live. And for those who've helped to get us this far, thank you for your contribution, your love, and respect. Thank you, your brother in the struggle, Maurice Soul Fighter Taylor. Peace. Hope to get economic contribution component of this government. Thank you. We need to continue to help each other. Stick up, let's face it, educate each other, and become part of the